Tigray Democratic Party urged international community to put pressure against TPLF's war of aggression. Greetings everyone and welcome to Addis News Hour. With the news, I'm Shifar Alako and thank you for joining us. Now, Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed calls for stronger preventive measures to mitigate further adverse effects of climate change in the Horn of African region. The Premier put the remark while addressing the AU extraordinary session being held in Equatorial Guinea. Sintayo Tamrat has more on that.
The African Union is holding its extraordinary session in Malabo, Equatorial Guinea, addressing the extraordinary humanitarian summit and pledging conference. Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed indicated the Horn of Africa sub-region in particular is the most affected region by recent climate change.
The humanitarian situation is a concerning development for Africa that requires our collective response. The Horn of Africa sub-region in particular is among the most affected by the recent climate change-induced humanitarian crisis. This year, some parts of Ethiopia were hit by one of the worst droughts in years, resulting in the loss of livestock and displacement of people. Nevertheless, the government's early response and national efforts undertaken to enhance the effectiveness of disaster risk management, in collaboration with the support of partners, have helped to reduce the overall socio-economic impacts.
The Premier also called for stronger preventive measures to mitigate further adverse effects of climate change in the region.
Lessons from our past experiences of recurrent droughts in the Horn of Africa region have shown us that stronger preventive measures are critical. Recognizing that humanitarian crisis in Ethiopia has largely been intensified by climate change and environmental degradation, we have put in place several policy institutional measures with mitigation.
Ethiopia is showing commitment to mitigating climate change through its Green Legacy initiative, which resulted in plantation of billions of trees across the country.
Under the country's Green Legacy initiative, Ethiopia has succeeded in mobilizing the public to engage in planting billions of trees every year. In this regard, I would like to affirm that Ethiopia commits to keep the momentum created thus far in the coming years to rehabilitate parts of our country impacted by the effect of climate change and environmental degradation.
The government of Ethiopia is also undertaking promising measures in the agriculture sector as part of its homegrown economic reform, he said.
As part of Ethiopia's homegrown economic reform plan, the Ethiopian government has also embarked on undertaking encouraging agricultural reform measures centered on ensuring food security. This is being undertaken by harnessing our own resources and local experience through cluster farming and irrigation-based lowland wheat production.
Professor Afewerki Kasu has been recognized by the government of Japan. The Japanese government is conducting a gold ceremony and recognition program to the former State Minister and Science and Higher Education Professor Afewerki Kasu in response to his effort in promoting the Kaizen philosophy and the efforts made by the Japanese government of school feeding program. We're going to stay on this issue, and to tell us more about the recognition, we're joined live on the phone by our staff reporter, Alula Taklamariam. Good evening, Alula.
Good evening, Shifara.
As we said earlier, Professor Afewerki Kasu has been recognized. So can you tell us more about the recognition of the professor by the Japanese government?
Yep, Shifara, thank you for having me. The event was very colorful, organized by the Japanese embassy in Addis Ababa. It was entitled The Decoration of the Rising Sun Gold and Silver Star. Professor Afol Kasu attended his doctoral education or PhD at the Tokushima of Japan University.
Yeah.
He had played a significant role in strengthening the bilateral ties between Ethiopia and Japan. He was awarded today in recognition of introducing the Kaizen philosophy. In addition to this, he also played a great role in introducing the school feeding program, which was taken from the Japan's education system. Speaking at the event, Ambassador of Japan to Ethiopia, Ito Takako, said Professor Afol Kasu was a very industrious and important person to bridge to strengthen the ties between Ethiopia and Japan. He played an unprecedented role in, intensifying the diplomatic and social and cultural ties between the two countries. At the event, he also talked that Professor Afol said that he was very pleased for taking this international award. The Japanese government has given this kind of award for a third time for Ethiopian diplomacy. Previously, former Ethiopian Prime Minister Hailemariam Desalegn took this award. In addition, Dr. Arkebe Ukubai was also the second person to take this award, naming the Rising Sun Gold and Silver Star. Now, for the third time, Professor Afol Kasu has got the opportunity to take this award, and he said that he would be playing a very significant role to proceed. To continue his role of linking the two sisterly countries in various areas. As we may know, he's serving as a Director General of the Armor Hansen Research Institute under the Ministry of Health, and he said that the research institute he is leading now has a lot to learn from Japan's research centers, and this opportunity, this award would pave a way to share more experience, technology, and knowledge from the Japan's universities and research centers. This event was also attended by different high-level government officials, extended families of the professor, ambassadors of different nations, and journalists or newsmen attended the event. And State Minister of Education was also at the event. He said that he had a very knowledgeable experience with Dr. Samuel Kufle was another speaker at the event, the State Minister of Education. He said that Professor Afol Kasu is a very important Ethiopian diplomat and expertise in various educational backgrounds in the country. Dear viewers, we will keep you updated in our Saturday evening news for further information about the event.
Indeed. Thank you, Alula, for that detailed reporting.
Thank you.
Now let's move to other stories. And ethnic and religious-based interests are dreaded to be challenging the upcoming national dialogue across the country. The Ethiopian National Dialogue Commission says it is tirelessly working to bring about fruitful recommendations in a bid to restore peace and stability across the country. And scholars approached by ETV suggest the significance of creating conducive environment to realize effective national dialogue. Haptam Ashagri has compiled the following story.
The Ethiopian National Dialogue Commission said it is tirelessly working to bring about fruitful recommendations in a bid to restore peace and stability across the country. Talking to ETV English, Commissioner of Ethiopian National Dialogue Jonas Adaye said the Commission has identified basic steps related with the national dialogue.
We trying to explore that literature so as to make it in a better sense adapt to Ethiopia's context. So that is exploration. From that exploration, we moved on to preparation. Preparation is designing the tasks, designing the very dialogue for debates, for discussions, which the third is called process, the very undertaking of discussion itself. So we have exploratory step, and then we have preparatory or preparation step, and then a process stage. The fourth one is delivery stage, delivering the agenda that people raised as fundamental ones. And then the fifth one is the implementation and following this monitoring and evaluation, how much what has been recommended by the people is being put into practice.
The Commissioner reminded countries failed to undertake effective national dialogue for prioritizing individuals' interests over the interest of the general public. Jonas expressed the Commission has prepared a roadmap to ease and clearly the complicated process of the Commission.
We are almost transitioning from exploration to preparation step. And now we have prepared our plans, our roadmap, and what is to be done over 3 years, how we're going to engage all citizens, how to walk the talk, the inclusivity, because we had proclamations that gave us mandate, and in the proclamation, objectives, functions, and our nature, who we are answerable to. So these all have been defined. So how to implement these, they have been done, and we are working on that very busily, almost 24/7.
Atkilt Atnafu, for his part, said the process by itself is a good signal that African problems can be addressed with in the African framework. He further called for regional and continental cooperation to permanently fending off African from external powers.
The African country, especially Horn of Africa, they should have internal strengths for domestic politics. Regional integration among the African countries, the right solution to bring a strong Horn of Africa. If you remember the recent issue of Ethiopia, Ethiopia is one of the hegemonic countries in the Horn of Africa. Without the stability of Horn of Ethiopia, it's impossible to achieve the stability of the Horn of Africa. So such internal conflict of Ethiopia leads more fragile areas of it creates fragile areas of the Horn of Africa that transcend for the especially South Sudan, Sudan, and the Kenyas. That's another problem of the region. So we should bring stability, internal stability for the those member states, among member states, especially they should have internal integration among themselves for political purpose, for security, and for economy.
These scholars also urged African countries to ratify regional and continental agendas for balancing Western agenda.
Moving on, a historian says peace is not an easy issue, rather what to struggle for in order to achieve it. Talking to ETV, historian Ahmed Zacharias stated that all Ethiopians need to be extra careful in bringing about reconciliation. Tigist Sarnesa has compiled the following story.
Many countries around the globe have experienced civil wars. Most of these conflicts have resulted in loss of lives and property, have ended in national consultation. That's why Ethiopia is gearing up for a much-expected national dialogue to bring trust and peace within its people. Talking to ETV, historian Ahmed Zacharias stressed that peace is not an easy issue, rather what to struggle for in order to achieve it.
Peace is not that easy object that we throw it as we like. We have to strive every day to get your peace of mind. As an individual, you have to strive with your thought process. It starts there. You're fighting with thought process and trying to reconcile your thought process before going to outside of your mind. The struggle is common, conflict is natural. You have to resolve issues within your mind, and then we with your family, with your neighbors and regions in the country and the world at large. So you have to struggle for it. Fighting is easy for me and terminal, but peace is ongoing process all year round, all your life. So conflict could happen any time in life, and wisdom is how to resolve this conflict. So you have to go to the root cause of the conflict and then try to understand it and come up with alternative solutions. There is no one solution. You can bring 100 viewpoints and then you can prioritize them and try to deal with them one by one, and until you come to equilibrium of peace.
The scholar added that one needs to be extra careful in bringing reconciliation. In this regard, all Ethiopians should use the opportunity through creating conducive environment to realize fruitful national dialogue.
We have gone through different ordeals. We based our ideology after the demise of the imperial state. We tried with Marxism. Marxism gave us two options: one class, the other is ethnic. Both are not working in our situation, and so we have to look for a better bondage in the social dimension. We have a rich cultural and religious experience. We have to tap in and depend on the values of our cultures and religions and come up with an optimum solution for social relationship. When it comes to diplomacy, we have to be careful, unipolar world was there for the last 30 years, and we faced lots of problems. We couldn't come up with a solution as such. The last 30 years we passed through. The world went through, different agonies. Multipolars are coming, but with difficulties, and we are becoming bone of contention. And so we have to be careful on that line also, how to resolve this bone of contention situations. It's not that easy. One has to be wise how to swim in troubled water, and so on. These are areas that the Commission and the government and the people at large has to consider.
Finally, the scholar also urged all Africans need to come together and stand in unison to alleviate problems the continent is facing.
Mother Africa is the starting point for all. The resource is rich. We have water, we have land, but we are poor. So it's just like what we have already discussed for Ethiopia, here also applies, and now we have to come together, put our energy to resolve our weaknesses. So Africa is rising. It's a renaissance of Africa now we are dealing with. It's not easy ordeal though. The fight is uphill because the rest have the benefit of ideology, economy, technology, communication, all whatnot. We have the resource. We are weak in infrastructure. We are weak in technology. We are weak in technology, communication, and industry. So the urge and the dream is there. Also, the last 60 years, African leaders were discussing, but they were not fulfilling it. One has to ask why. They were not able to, because the legacy of the past is still with us. We are not going to be enemies for God's sake. We're not suggesting enemy to all, because we are the mothers for all, and so we are children all over the world, and so we are just asking for justice.
ATV English will bring you fresh stories on the diplomatic arena. Stay tuned.
Welcome back. You're still watching Addis News Hour. Now, the terrorist TPLF continues to beat war drums, threatening Tigrayan mothers to face jail terms or send their sons and daughters to the military training centers throughout the war-torn Tigray. A founding member of the TPLF, Gidey Sarasion, told ETV that Tigray and neighboring states are still reeling from the trauma of the war with the TPLF. Despising TPLF's massive military mobilization for yet another war against Ethiopia, Gidey calls upon Tigrayan youth and people to reject TPLF's call to war. Kushumel Sel reports.
The TPLF attempted to retake federal power by attacking a federal army camp in Tigray in November 2020. Forced to ensure law and order, the Ethiopian government retaliated by mobilizing its army. Although Ethiopia declared a unilateral ceasefire, the aggressor TPLF expanded the conflict into neighboring states of Amhara and Afar. It is to be recalled that during its invasion, TPLF caused grave humanitarian atrocities and damaged public infrastructure, despite little condemnation from the international community. One of the founding members of the TPLF, Gidey Sarasion, said the Tigray people in neighboring regions are still bearing the brunt of the TPLF's destructive war.
Right from the very beginning, we have been advising TPLF not to engage into launch any military attack on Ethiopia or engage in such confrontation. But they have started it. We have seen now first phase, second phase, which are very devastating to the Tigrayans and even to a region in Ethiopia, to other regions in Ethiopia as well, to the neighboring regions.
Gidey called upon Tigrayan users to reject TPLF's call to arms.
Another war of such degree would very badly affect the Tigrayans, and it has to be avoided at any cost. So what I would advise is the Tigrayans could not afford such war now.
He reiterated that the international community to put pressure on TPLF in order to bring peace and stability in the region.
The international community up to now has been actually supporting them. But this time they have seen them and they have proved that some of the allegations were false. And they have also seen now the damage that they have done in other regions, in Amhara and in Afar. So their support towards the TPLF is now reduced. But they are not still putting pressure on TPLF. I would say that I would appeal to the international community that they put pressure on TPLF to stop this madness.
Gidey further pointed out that TPLF is launching foiled attacks against Eritrea in an apparent attempt to destabilize the Horn region.
In one aspect, they want to attract the international attention that this is a regional war, that the other countries are involving in this war. So they might try that. They might provoke such kind of attack on Eritreans. On the other side, of course, they know also that the Eritrean force is a stumbling block for them to push through Amhara regions, especially through the Wolkite. So it can be one of their strategy to attack both the Amharas and the Wolkite and Eritreans.
Now moving on, UN resident and humanitarian coordinator in Ethiopia, Catherine Sozi, says the humanitarian truce declared by the government of Ethiopia is helping to maximize all opportunities in the flow of assistance commodities to conflict-affected areas. According to her, the truce has brought about the desired result on the ground by easing the flow of relief supplies by road and by air. Kasaun Chani presents Ethiopian News Agency's dispatch as follows.
UN Resident and Humanitarian Coordinator in Ethiopia, Catherine Solzi, told the Ethiopian news agency that the humanitarian truce declared by the government of Ethiopia is helping to maximize all opportunities in a flow of assistance, commodities to conflict-affected areas. Solzi added the humanitarian truce has brought about the desired result on the ground by lightening the flow of relief supplies on roads and air flights.
For us, when the humanitarian truce was declared by both and signed off by the government and also by the TPLF, we welcomed that, and it means that we are able now to increase humanitarian assistance into Tigray, and also not only within Tigray, but on the border areas with Tigray and Amhara, Tigray and Afar, where people are. To provide life-saving assistance.
She elaborated that not only within Tigray, but also in the border areas with Tigray and Amhara and Afar, where people are to be provided with life-saving assistance. The government of Ethiopia declared an indefinite humanitarian truce in March 2022 to expedite the provision of humanitarian aid for the needy people in the Tigray region in particular. The truce is being lauded by the international community as the right move to save lives and reduce human suffering when humanitarian agencies, aid workers and rights groups sounded alarmed about conditions in Tigray. However, the terrorist TPLF has been accused of obstructing critical food aid to Tigray, and the international community was repeatedly urged to put pressure on the group to end all else unhelpful activities. Solzi reiterated she was worried in the beginning and during the conflict about the safety and security of the humanitarians as they reach out to help people in need. The coordinator, however, noted that the declaration of the humanitarian truce has been enormously creating opportunities for an unimpeded flow of assistance.
So the truce for us was very welcome, and we have been using all opportunities to increase the flow of assistance, commodities, again, whether food, around health, nutrition for babies, water and sanitation, shelter for IDPs, using that opportunity to move a lot of the big stuff that needs to move by road on trucks, but also we have been assisted by government in flying in air freight commodities, the ones that are not so heavy, and those flights have continued to move in.
Despite the increasing humanitarian assistance flow after this truce, the Ethiopian government and independent researchers are sounding that food has been diverted to fighters of the terrorist TPLF, which is recently planning to wage another devastating war on neighboring Amhara and Afar regions. When asked whether the humanitarian assistance has been given to TPLF fighters, the coordinator responded that the United Nations and the NGOs are committed that every commodity procured by governments or funding from the donors reach the beneficiaries.
You're still watching Addis News Hour, and thank you for watching us. Now moving on, young Pan-Africanists have visited various sites in the Ethiopian capital, Addis Ababa, as well as some of the major projects and tourist destinations today. They told ETV that the growth in the capital is a sign of Africa's capability and potential for prosperity. Johannes van Town has talked to some of them and compiled the following story.
This decade is the decade of African independence. Forward then to independence now. Tomorrow, the United States of Africa.
Africa Day is observed annually on May 25th to commemorate the founding of the Organization of African Unity, created on 25th of May 1963. The establishment of this organization was aimed at liberating African countries from the yoke of colonialism. The current generation of Africa is urged to maintain the Pan-Africanist wave and elevate the continent to prosperity and unity.
I think we've all come together for this youth summit because we believe in Africa. We believe we can hear our forefathers inside our spirits calling us. And we need to realize that we are one people, even when we fight amongst each other. Yes, we may have issues, yes, we may have problems, but at the end of the day, anywhere we go on this planet, we'll always be reminded that we are African. So we need to be home for each other.
Talking to ETV, the young Pan-Africanists expressed impression about the growth and beauty of Addis Ababa, Africa's diplomatic capital. Addis Ababa, as well as the rest of Ethiopia, are showing signs of transforming the Africa we want, they said.
What I have seen is that project has been really a great change. Seeing the back of different government, different prime minister has been done. It was because of their efforts. That's a great achievement for the Africa and also for the youth also as well. So we like also others regional or others countries to learn from these projects. That is a way forward to make our development. And instead of to visit Paris or go to Holland or go to where for refreshment or for holiday, please, I would like that we have to visit our own.
The thing that I really enjoyed about the visit was all the green spaces, which I think is something that's really lacking in a lot of our African countries, because we're forgetting that, you know, Mother Nature, Mother Earth, that just represents Africa.
Remembering the efforts of our forefathers and foremothers, participants of the event have conveyed the following message for young Africans.
The way that we can be able to tackle the issues that we have on this continent is coming together as people in the same country and people in the same continent, because we can't do these things by ourselves. We need everyone to work together. We are one people and we need to move together as one.
Without them, we cannot be visible, or we cannot talk about African unity today. Without them also, the good achievement that we can also remember, the Adwa victory, which is really showing, it was really showing the unity of the African people, that to fight the colonialist master, regardless of our own master colonies. So let us focusing on our own unity. First of all, let us focus on our own. Let us forget what is gone, so let us focus on the future, because even though the future is linked with the past.
Now in business, the Turkey-Ethiopian Investment Forum is being held in Turkey in participation of various stakeholders from both sides. Apart from high officials of both countries, investors engaged in various business sectors in Turkey and honorary consuls of 3 countries are participating in the forum. Commissioner of the Ethiopian Investment Commission, Lelisi Neme, and Deputy Commissioner Tamasgen Tilahun presented and elaborated on various investment opportunities, incentives, and key reforms of the sector to potential Turkish investors in Ethiopia. Ethiopian Ambassador to Turkey, Adam Mohammed, said that multiple agreements have been signed between the two nations in areas of investment, trade, and political spheres, calling for commitment from both sides to implement the pacts. Morocco's Diplomatic Foundation has organized a discussion under the theme Energy and Food Security in Africa. Participants underscored the importance and urgency for Africa to ensure its own food and energy security in light of the global disruptions in the value chains of energy and food supplies following such incidents as the Russo-Ukraine war and the COVID-19 pandemic, among others, with their far-reaching consequences in Africa. Ethiopia's efforts to interconnect via electricity its neighbors, as well as the launching of the GERD with its huge potential to enhance such interconnectivity and consequently the self-sufficiency in the African energy supply, was cited as a vivid testimony of Ethiopia's sense of awareness of the issue and that it was a step in the right direction. The Ethiopian delegation, on its part, highlighted the extent to which the GERD not only perfectly fits into the Sustainable Development Goals, but also to that of the green legacy of the Ethiopian government. The delegation stated that the GERD would serve to address the domestic energy needs of Ethiopia and play a critical role in enhancing regional and continental integration with electric interconnections, the act of which the Ethiopian government has already taken initiatives even before the GERD. Moving on, the Water and Energy Minister Habtamu Itefa discussed with Huawei Technologies Ethiopia CEO Chen Mingliang ways how to collaborate towards smartening the ICT infrastructure in Ethiopia. Habtamu told the CEO that the ministry is working to ensure access of up-to-date information to consumers regarding developments in the water and energy sector, thereby enhancing service delivery. Chen Mingliang, for his part, affirmed commitment of Huawei to support the ministry in realizing the plan toward smartening ICT infrastructure of the water and energy sector in Ethiopia. And now let's take a quick look at the exchange rates of some currencies, and I'll be right back.